The Wednesday edition of the Business Power Hour with Darren, Dimples, and the Music Man. Me. Hey, Dimps.
Hey, Mr. Music Man. How you doing this evening?
What's going on?
How are you?
We're good. What's up? Two ladies. This is a true story. These two ladies at a network meeting came over to me, and he said, your show was really good, but we missed Dimples. Good evening, everybody. I just got the finger from Jim.
It's all part of the story.
Right.
Hey, everybody. It's Darren from the Business Power Hour. I'm not going to be in the studio tonight. I'm traveling.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man, except Darren's not here.
I'm here.
No,
I'm
you're
right
not
here.
Does anybody see that? Darren is not here. Darren is away.
I am right here. I'm right next to you.
Be quiet for a second. You're not here. What? I don't know if you got lucky.
Not the really interesting question.
That's a fantastic question, Norman.
Wow. See, I got fantastic. You just got good. I got fantastic.
Show's about him, so let's focus on that.
We are.
Were you drinking before the show?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
There we go. We got it.
It's good.
No, it's...
Now we got a flood.
There you go. Okay.
Smother it.
So, I think you guys are doing a thing.
It's making noise.
It's making music.
Is it?
Yeah. That's so sweet. That's so sweet of you, Darren.
By the way, this is a Yankee station.
It's a
Thank
Yankee
you.
station. John,
Thank you.
it's a Yankee station.
All right.
Unfortunately...
We got bugs in here. What's going on?
I don't know.
Do you spray? Get an
It's
exterminator?
that time of year where you're getting bugs and stuff. As long as we don't have bees, I'm good.
Yeah, all right. That's
But
We have a lot of undulations out in the field. Undulations.
Is that a wine?
no,
What the hell is undulation?
Fred, don't use big words. Yeah, right? So this...
Help.
I gotta give him a cough button, Jim. What do you think?
A cough button would be a good idea. You consider that a good question that he asked?
Great question.
There you go. I got
Pythons and brains.
You're double D?
I'm double D. Show's about him, so let's focus on that.
We are. Hey, give me some loving.
How are you, Music Man?
Hello, Darren. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm
this week?
absolutely convinced. I'm
telling
you
you.
got some kind of brain damage when you had that thing last year.
I'm telling you, and he called.
Not classy, but classy.
Seeing interviews by Darren and the Music Man. Ladies and gentlemen, Darren Siafi and Norman Wasserman.
Let's do this. Yeah. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour with Darren, Dimples, and the Music Man. We're here. It's Wednesday night. It is Wednesday, right?
It is Wednesday night, my friend, and we actually got the old opening back, so we got that all squared away.
Yeah, it sounded better than before.
It sounds better than before. So how was your Thanksgiving, my friend?
Let's see. How was Thanksgiving? Quiet. Plenty to eat. Not too many people. We actually went to my stepson's brand new home that he just purchased, and he wanted to have Thanksgiving dinner. So he just had his in-laws and us and my granddaughter, and that was it. We had a nice time, and we had football. So it was good. And yours?
Every year I go to my cousins. I went to my cousins, and there was only 9 of us. We were, staying within that law. And as it turns out, my cousin's fiance, who is a nurse, tested negative the day before COVID, Thanksgiving, and then on Monday we found out she tested positive.
Uh-oh.
So Monday night I went, got a test. It turns out negative. So knock wood, I'm good there, but we are now quarantined. This is why I am, broadcasting from my current location. So, we're going to be locked down now until next week. So, we're doing
a week. The last show we did, which was the Robin Williams show.
Okay.
We did the Williams show, and my sound engineer happened to be someplace else a couple of days before.
Right.
2 days after he came down with COVID.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, and she's a nurse, so she's always around it and stuff. So you kind of expect that, but at the same time, it's disappointing because now you got to go through all of this stuff. And, luckily enough, we took, and as you know, we moved into new offices at the beginning of November.
Right.
So we took precautions. We're able to work out of the house. So it's really not slowing us down there other than the on-site stuff that we typically do.
Right. What'd you do Monday? Did you do your radio show?
Yeah, I didn't know until Monday night.
Oh, okay.
I went through the whole thing. I notified everybody that I was in contact with on Monday. So, and like I said, it's she came back positive. Her fiance, who she lives with, came back negative. We came back negative. So, they're saying there's a chance that we didn't get it. But at the same time, the doctor said, since you had, and this is, I guess this is their rule, right? Since you had contact with them for at least 15 minutes, that you got to lock yourself down for 14 days. And 14 days would be, a week from today, actually.
And even if you don't have it, you still got to lock yourself down 14 days?
Yeah, because you were face-to-face contact with somebody without a mask for at least 15 minutes.
Well, I have to say that our guest tonight has been out there. You talk about being quarantined. After 51 years, his business went poof. And he's back. And he's back big time. And those of us that are like around my age or a little younger, a little older than you, maybe even you remember, is the publisher of the very, very special Good Times magazine. Good Times paper. And here it is. And there was a picture of Robin Williams right down here because we advertise in his newspaper and he's with us. So let's put him on the stage. Okay. Richard, I can never pronounce his last name. Richard Branciforte. Is that correct, Richie?
You're close, Norman. You're getting closer each time.
The Jewish version.
It is. Well, everybody thought I was Jewish in college, so I guess that's okay.
Well, never got a name like that, they didn't.
So, Richard, tell us about.
Welcome. And there was a picture of Robin Williams right down here.
We got a double thing going on here. Sorry about that. Tell us a little bit about Good Times magazine, what it's all about.
How'd you get started?
Well, first of all, Good Times is Long Island's arts and entertainment paper. It has been for the last 51 years. Everybody thought I was Jewish in college, so I guess that's okay.
Never got a name like.
I'm sorry, guys. Little technical difficulties. I don't have my normal setup, so we'll work with that. You know how show business is, Rich. So.
Okay, so anyway, I had gone to graduate school at Columbia Graduate School of Business and Marketing, and I was editor of the school paper there. And I was looking for a job when I graduated. So it turned out that I had two job offers. One was to work for AT&T in the management magazine at the amazing salary of $210. And the other one was to work for Jimi Hendrix for $95 a week. Now, the reason I got the interview with Jimi Hendrix is one of the guys in my marketing class, his brother Mike Goldstein, was Jimi Hendrix's publicist. So he came to me one time and he says, Rich, I know you like to write. I know you love music. My brother's looking for a publicist to work with Jimi Hendrix. I said, wow, that'd be great because who at 22 years old is not going to want to be working with Jimi Hendrix? The problem was that even though Jimmy was a guitar hero, he wasn't yet a guitar god. So I went down for the interview and I said very excitedly, what am I going to be doing? Am I going to write press releases for Jimmy and the whole thing? He said, well, no, not exactly. Jimmy has a problem. So I looked at him, I said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, apparently when Jimmy travels all over the United States doing gigs at clubs, he constantly gets stiffed. The club owners don't pay him. So they wanted somebody to go along with Jimmy and collect the money from all the different clubs. So I thought about it. I said, I don't know. $95 a week, a 3-week trial, as opposed to $210 with AT&T. But the main reason I turned it down was I didn't want to have to collect money from clubs. Never realizing that for the next 51 years of my life, in 7 states with 14 different newspapers that I've owned, I would spend my entire adult life collecting money from club owners. And I still do. As a matter of fact, after I get off here, I'm going to go out and collect some money from one of my accounts. So that's how Good Times got started. And I also got started because I wanted free tickets to Woodstock and free record albums. And I thought I'd do it for a year or two and just get, do something else then.
Is this what you wanted to do as a child and growing up? What was your goal when you were a kid?
Yeah, I'm not hearing you, Norman.
Yeah, no, your voice went out. So, Rich, what Norm asked was, what was when you were a kid growing up, what did you want to do?
I wanted to be a lawyer. I always enjoyed law. I went to Queens College undergrad, and I was all set. I was going to apply for law school, but unfortunately, my grades were so lousy that there really wasn't any good law school that was going to take me. And then one day I saw the cover of Esquire magazine. And on the cover, they had a picture of a young guy, and he had a wheelbarrow and it was filled with money. And it said, "This is what'll happen to you if you get your MBA." So I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I had exactly one economics course, which I got an A- in. And that was all the course I had in economics. So I applied to 2 schools. I applied to 3 schools. I applied to Baruch College, City College of New York. I applied to NYU School of Business, which had really just been starting up. And I applied to Columbia Graduate School of Business. And I got accepted into Baruch very, very quickly. And then I get this very, very nice letter from NYU. And it just says, "Dear Mr. Branciforte, unfortunately," and I found this letter just a couple of weeks ago, but it says, "Unfortunately, your grades don't meet our high academic standards. We're unable to offer you, coming to the college. We hope you find some way of continuing your education," which was the last line. So I thought about it. And then I got a letter from Columbia Business School saying, "We want you to come in for a personal interview because your grades are low, but you have a couple of things on your resume that fascinates us. You were editor of the undergraduate school paper at Queens. You were editor of the Columbia Graduate Business News. You were editor of a metropolitan wide publication." So I went up, interviewed, and got into Columbia. And got my acceptance letter from Columbia, and I took a copy of it, sent it to NYU, and just wrote, "I found a way." So there I was in the number 3 business school in the country, as opposed to the number 85 school in the country at the time. So
some things are just meant to be, huh?
That's exactly it. So, yeah, I mean, look, you hear great stories like that all the time. So how did Good Times happen? You went to work for AT&T, right? You turned down Jimi Hendrix.
okay, you guys, I'm sure remember Murray the K.
Murray.
And the swinging soiree.
So for those of us that, in our audience who are not of the age to remember Murray the K, just give a quick background on Murray the K.
Murray the K was known as the 5th Beatle. He was a DJ that had an immense power. He ran shows in Brooklyn, oldie shows and all. And if you got your record played on Murray the K's radio show, I think it was on WMCA, you were made. So I started Good Times, which was called Action World originally. Original name was Action World, not Good Times. And I started it while I was working at AT&T. I started AT&T in February '69, and I started the paper around the same time. So we had just come out with our first or second issue, and we distributed the paper in Manhattan at all the different bars and restaurants and clubs. And my secretary buzzes me. I'm sitting now, AT&T it was like being in a classroom. There was just row upon row of desks, and it went up to the top, and at the top was my supervisor. And everybody below him was people who worked for the magazines and all. So one day my secretary buzzes me and she says, "Oh, Mr. Branciforte, you've got a Mr. K online too." So I'm working for AT&T. I thought it was somebody from Long Lines or Bell Telephones. So I pick it up and I go, "Branciforte, 195 magazine." And this voice, just like on the radio, comes on. "Hey, Dick, this is Murray the K. How are you grooving today?" So there I am on the bottom row because I'm the lowest of the low there. And everybody that worked there was pretty old. They were like 40 years old. Wow. Excuse me. They were like 40 years old. And but the people
So you thought they were ancient.
I thought they were ancient because they were worrying about where their kids were going to go, to summer camp. And I was worried about where my date was coming from that weekend. So I pick up the phone and I got Murray the K on the phone. But all the young people that work for AT&T, the mailroom, the secretary, somehow got word that the new guy over in 195 magazine is talking to Murray the K. So all of a sudden, this assembly of people just gets in front of my desk. There's like maybe 40, 50 people there. And they're whispering and yelling, "Oh, is he talking to me? Sorry to you," which was his language that he used to use on the radio. What's he saying? So I get Murray the K on the phone and he goes, just as without losing a beat, he goes, "Hey, Dick, I picked up that rag of yours and it's super groovy." And then he goes into his pitch. "I represent Tony Kosanek. He's a cool artist from Canada and I want to see him in your rag." Kept calling it a rag. So, but then again, so did Ron Delson or so. So I said to him,
That's
"Well,
a
okay, sure. Well, we'll do a review of him." So we get done with the call. The crowd disperses. A few minutes goes by and my phone is buzzed. And it's Jim Caleb, my supervisor. "Rich, could you come up to the upper level?" So I go up, I walk up to the upper level. He's sitting there and he says to me, "Rich, first of all, I got to tell you, you're doing a very good job here. Your writing is good and I really enjoy it. However, it has not escaped management's attention that you started your own newspaper. You can't do that. You're going to have to decide." Now, I used to go to work in three-piece suits, wingtip shoes. And then during my lunch hour, I'd go over to the East Village and I'd go to places like the Electric Circus and Christina Gorby and Limbo Men's Boutique for advertising, trying to sell advertising. And then after work, I would go to the Upper East Side and hit all the places along First and Second Avenue, Maxwell's Plum and Fridays. So he says, "You're going to have to make up your mind and decide whether, you want to do this or whether you want to have your own publication." So I thought about it. And the last article I ever wrote for A&T was, "Can a person under 30 find happiness in a large corporation?" And that was my final article.
Can you hear me?
No,
Nobody can hear me.
I can hear you, but barely.
I can hear Darren fine, but I can't hear you.
How's this?
No. I don't know what
I
it
got
is.
external speakers on too.
Yeah,
Any better?
Norm, when you first came on, you were fine. Now
I get it.
your voice went.
But you can't hear me now?
I can hear you very low. Fortunately, I had that hearing test and I passed it. So if you talk low and nobody else talks, I can
You know what
probably
I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bug out and come right back in.
Okay.
Bug out. Rich and I are going to continue. All
Please
right.
do.
We won't miss you. And so, Rich, you decided now this is it. I'm going to start my own. Now, what year is this that you started your own paper?
69. 1969. I started April 1st, 1969. And I started it on April Fool's Day. And I did it on April Fool's Day so that I could say that if it didn't work out, I was just kidding. And like I said earlier, I thought I would do it for a year or two. I wanted to get free tickets to Woodstock and I wanted to get free record albums. I didn't make it to Woodstock because I was sick. I got sick and I couldn't go up there. And I developed colitis, and probably the worst place you would want to be is Woodstock.
Yeah.
Can't hear me now?
Nope.
Still can't hear me?
No, it's very, yeah, I don't know what happened.
Maybe it's an omen.
There you go.
Could be. We can continue the show.
What you just said, though, you can hear better.
Yeah,
Yep, better.
yeah, good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Norman, while you were gone, there was a slight name change of the show. It's now called the Darren and Rich Show. Sorry.
It should be. I think that's a good idea. When you were talking about Mia Surrey and Mr. K, I won a WMCA Good Guy sweatshirt off of Murray's show to Papa Got a Brand New Bag. Remember, we have to do that. I wish I had that sweatshirt now.
We all wish we had the,
Oh my
the
God,
stuff
what a
that we had.
sweatshirt that was.
So, Norm, what year was that you won that?
66, I think it was,
Wow.
1966. I was still in, that was my senior year in high school.
Okay. I was one. So it's April 1st, 1969, you launched the magazine. Now, was it just New York City based at that point, or how did you end up in
Yeah,
70?
it was Manhattan and Long Island, but I lived in Long Island. I grew up in Jamaica, Queens, right by St. John's University. And I realized, first of all, when I would go out, it was like you were beating your head against the wall because no matter where you went, everybody said, oh, we advertise in the Village Voice. So I realized that there was nothing in Queens and Long Island and Brooklyn. We did Brooklyn at the time. That was like the Voice. So I figured if we switched the distribution, we kept Manhattan, but if we increased it to Long Island, we could be Long Island's paper. There was really nothing out here. There was no Nassau Coliseum. There was no My Father's Place Club. There was just local bars, local restaurants, and a lot of head shops, a lot of boutiques, shows at places like the Action House and Rennie Leone's. So
Used
these
to
were all
hang
the
out there
places that were here on Long
every
Island.
Friday night. Used to drive from the Bronx to Long Beach to go to Rennie Leone's.
Yep. I spoke to him recently, and he's a legend. He's owned like 19 clubs on Long Island.
Yeah. Some of the acts that you've dealt with, who are some of the big names that you've been involved with?
Well, just about anybody you can imagine. I mean, we have the three stories that made Good Times. Now, what made Good Times magazine in the early days? Well, number one, there was nothing else around. There was Rolling Stone had started a year before me, but there was no local publications that were covering music. Newsday, the daily papers never covered music, or very much film for that matter. So we covered film, we covered that. But the things that made Good Times magazine were real simple. First of all, I call them the Trinity. There was 3 interviews that we did that basically made Good Times. First of all, there was an interview with Duane Allman from the Allman Brothers. And we interviewed Duane Allman. I sent a writer down from Hofstra University, 19-year-old co-ed. And she went down and she interviewed Duane Allman. Handed in the interview. It was a fantastic interview. And in the interview, she asked Duane a question, and it said, how do you feel about the peace movement? And he very flippantly said, every time I go back to Georgia, I eat a peach for peace. And I thought that was a great quote. So I took it as an outtake. I blew it up big. And 2 things happened. About a year later, we got a letter from Capricorn Records that says the interview that Duane Allman did with Good Times magazine was one of his all-time favorites. Would you mind if we called his new album Eat a Peach? And I said, no, that sounds good. So if you go to Wikipedia and you look up the Allman Brothers Eat a Peach album, they have the real story there. It says it was named after, and what did they call it? A small unknown New York publication, because people thought it was called Eat a Peach because there was a rumor that he had been killed by a peach truck when he was on his motorcycle. So that was the rumor that people believed, but the real story was that it was an interview in Good Times magazine that they used for the album. So that was probably number one. That was a real big thing.
So why would they, this is, I don't know a lot about your business, but why would they need your permission for his quote, to name the album after his quote?
Because copyrights existed even back in those days, and this was something that ran in a publication in print. So technically it was a copyrighted article, and by taking the name, it's the same thing as if you took the name of your show and called yourself, the Rolling Stone Hour, or the Best of the New York Times or something. They just were being safe, and they wanted permission. And of course, there was nobody in those days that would even think of not giving permission. We didn't even give it a second thought. We said, yeah, go ahead and do it. We didn't realize, who knew that the album was going to be one of the greatest albums of all time.
Right.
And
could have got some points off of that there, Rich.
We should have. I mean, 40 years later, 50 years later, we need to have that. So that was the first thing. Second thing was Jerry Garcia, Grateful Dead, appeared at Queens College. And one of my writers, Jay Itkowitz, who's now a lawyer with about 7 different law offices throughout New York City. But back in 1971 or 72, he looked like Jerry Garcia. He looked like, I don't know if you remember the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. There was Gilbert Shelton's cartoons that was in all the underground newspapers. And he looked just like Jerry Garcia. So he went down to the Queens College auditorium, and I had gone there. You know, we were able to get into the auditorium. They were doing a rehearsal. So during the rehearsal, Jay jumps onto the stage during a break and walks over to Jerry Garcia, and he says, "I'm really upset with you." And Jerry looked at him. He says, "What do you mean you're upset with me?" He says, "Well, my publication, Good Times Magazine, has been trying to get an interview with you, and your publicist doesn't return our calls." So Garcia looked at his mirror image and said, "Listen, come backstage after the concert tonight and I'll do an interview." And that interview turned out to be the biggest in terms of number of pages interview that Good Times ever ran. That built the reputation that this little publication in New York was getting Jerry Garcia exclusive interviews.
So you were getting the big stars at that point.
We got the big stars because there was no place else they could go. They were so delighted. Record companies were just so delighted that somebody wanted to talk to their stars. And, you know, the key to being a good publicist is knowing that it's not Dwayne Allman or Jerry Garcia that's important. It's that first album act that nobody wants to interview. So if you're smart, you say, "Listen, no problem. We'll give you an interview with, Rod Stewart. But listen, I got great news. Green Slate is reforming. Would you guys like to do a story on them?" So that was number two. And then the thing that really put us way over the top, 1974, 75, I think it was. I hired somebody that was a friend of mine from Queens College. And his job at the time, he had gone to Queens for 5 or 6 years, anti-war at the time, Vietnam War, nobody wanted to leave the college. But when he left, he was driving cars between LaGuardia and Kennedy for Hertz. That was his job. So somebody said, "Oh, so-and-so's driving cars." So I contacted him and I said, "Listen, you're an excellent writer. Would you like to be my managing editor? Come work for Good Times." So he did. So one day Glenn comes to me and he says, "Hey, Rich, I got this guy I want to put on the cover of Good Times Magazine." And I said, "Really? Who is it?" He says, "Well, here's the thing. You're almost definitely never heard of him because nobody really has. But Crawdaddy Magazine is going to be running a cover story on him. And John Landau, this famous writer, is going to be doing the interview. So if we do it, we'll be the second publication in America to feature him." And I said, "Well, who is it?" He said, "Well, it's Bruce Springsteen." And I said, "You're right. Never heard of him." So I just looked at him. I said, "Glenn, do you think this guy is going to be big?" And he said, "I'm sure of it." I said, "Okay, do it." So they had us go up to Boston to interview Bruce. And we sent this 18-year-old girl from Queens College that was my photographer up there to shoot pictures. And two things happened from that. We ran the Springsteen story, which is famous now. And the girl, Mary Alfieri, wound up, if you remember, they put Springsteen on the cover of Newsweek and Time magazine the same day. And Newsweek didn't have any photographers that covered Springsteen. So they called us up and said, "We heard you had a photographer in Boston. We'd like to buy the picture for her." So she got the cover of Newsweek, got $500 for it, and that was that.
$500.
$500. And then
$500 was a lot of money back then.
a couple of months later, Glenn comes to me, shuts the door behind him and says, "Can I speak to you?" That's never good when an employee does that. So I said, "Well, what's up?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to be leaving Good Times." And I was shocked. I said, "Glenn, you can't leave Good Times. I mean, I thought you loved it here." And he says, "Well, I do, but I just got offered a job as Bruce Springsteen's tour publicist." Today, this writer friend is very world famous. He's got about 7 Grammy Awards to his credit. He won the Grammy Award for the Forrest Gump compilation, and he was vice president of Epic Records, and just became a superstar within the music business. And again, because he worked for Good Times Magazine and had the ears to pick out a guy like Bruce Springsteen before anybody else had ever heard of him, he had a great career. So those were the three early interviews.
So that's fantastic, Rich. What we're going to do, we're going to take a really short break, okay? And when we come back, we're going to pick your brain about some of the other stuff that's going on. I want to do a quick shout out to Brian Cohen, who's watching tonight, who said he used to read Good Times religiously back in the 70s and 80s. And of course, we have John from Hazlitt on as always. So welcome, John. And
Before we go to break, Rich, give everybody your phone number.
yes, how can they get in touch with you, and how can they get a hold of Good Times Magazine?
Well, the great news is that, first of all, it's still available free at over 250 locations. We were at over 450 before the pandemic. So that's number one, free copies. You can pick them up in places like KJ Farrell's and clubs and restaurants and stuff. Two, we have a digital edition that's free. And you can get that at issuu.com/goodtimesmag and read the whole issue in its entirety. And really, there's just a lot of ways that you can get the good times.
All right,
And
fantastic.
as far as reaching me, I love phone calls. It's very lonely in the Good Times office. I got a 1,300 square foot office with nobody there. So we can be reached at 516-280-2100. And I think it's great when people call. I love to get calls. People call up and say, can you review our album? Or we got something coming up. And that's great. The phones work. That's better than emailing, better than texting.
People tend to forget that these days, that talking to somebody actually is a better way of communicating than email. So
Absolutely.
all right, we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes with Rich from Good Times Magazine. Just stay with us, everybody. Oh, we lost that. Hold on.
Let me just tell you a little bit about our upcoming Donna Summer concert, backed by popular demand. Donna Summer is going to rock the stage on December 12th. Here's a little bit of what you'll be seeing. Okay, so now to get tickets for such a great event, friendentertainmentusa.com or go to virtualtributeconcerts.com and purchase your ticket right there, $9.99, and you can disco the night away right in your living room.
Okay.
Have you lost control of your business? This is business consultant Darren Sayafi. Listen to me every Monday at 3 p.m. as we discuss strategies and solutions where you can regain control. That's every Monday at 3 starting September 14th, right here on LI News Radio.
All right, welcome back, everybody.
Hey, Rich, we sell advertising.
You sell advertising.
Yeah, we put ads on our radios, on our TV show.
Well, I think everybody should be on there.
We should talk,
Yeah, we should. Yeah, definitely. We can do that. Because I've been trying to get this guy to pay for his advertising, everybody. Just do it.
My advertising. Cute. Now, COVID hit.
Mhm.
I'm sure you got killed like so many of us, especially in the entertainment industry. Tell us your story. What happened?
We were flying in January and February. We had a couple of the worst years ever. Then last year was our best year in 5 years. And as we started 2020, it looked great. We were getting back advertisers that had been out of the paper 5 and 6 years. We were getting people like Five Towns College advertising again. We were picking up a lot of new customers. I thought we were going to really, really bust out here. And COVID hit. And our last issue came out on March the 17th. Everything closed down on March the 16th, and we were closed. And I closed down just 2 weeks short of our 51st anniversary, which would have been April Fool's Day, 2020. But that was no joke. We were out. We were done. There was no entertainment going on. There's nothing you could write about. If you did, you couldn't deliver the paper. So I just kind of figured, well, that's it. It's over with. Then for 7 months, kind of exile on Main Street, read a lot of stuff, went through literally 20,000 rock photos, 10,000 albums that I've collected over the years. Got another 20,000 movie stills, all kinds of memorabilia, emptied out my storage, brought everything into the office and was sorting through it. So that's what I was doing. And then in August, my landlord called up and he said, listen, I got somebody that wants to rent your office, and I need to know what you plan on doing. So at that point, I wasn't planning on doing anything, being 5 months behind in rent. And I had printers' bills, and big thing was we had a lawsuit against us from somebody that sued us for $150,000 back in January, a
150.
extortion lawsuit. Purpose wasn't to win money from the lawsuit, but to force you to settle so that you wouldn't run up incredible legal fees. So I said to my landlord, listen, I think I'd like to try and come back out. I think things are going to open up in another 2 months, which would have been October, November. I said, see, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out monthly in October and November and December. We come out every 2 weeks with Good Times, every other week, bi-weekly. I said, I'm going to come out once a month just to put our foot back. But I said, listen, I got to come out with something because people don't remember that there was a Good Times after a while. If you haven't seen something for 7 months, it loses its importance. So he said, listen, I'll work out something with you because I don't want to be the guy known as the person who put Good Times magazine under. He said, I'm a musician. I've read Good Times myself since I was a teenager. So I said, okay. So we came back out. We kind of reinvented ourselves. We added columns like live streams and video, and in place of a live music calendar. Added a lot of new sections. We've got art and museums now. We've got a book section. A lot of food, a lot of dining, a lot of people going out, or we hope that people at least will go out somewhat to support local restaurants. So that's really where we are. And the first 2 issues were very successful. I was very surprised. We got incredible support. We got a whole bunch of musicians that took ads to support us. We got Long Island Cares took a full page, back cover. You guys helped out. My Father's Place, just a lot of people came in. Didn't get any of the performing centers because they're not open. So we're missing Paramount and Patchogue Theater and those. So that's kind of what the plan is, just to see if we can somehow muddle through this until things open up.
How long ago did you start doing restaurants? Because if people don't know, they haven't seen your paper.
1973.
You're loaded with restaurants in there with menus and specials and all kinds of special things.
Well, that was one of the things we came up with. We always had a column called Bountiful Gourmet, and that was me. And I would just go randomly to a restaurant. I'd find a great place and I'd write it up. If it was lousy, I wrote this restaurant's lousy and explained why. It's one thing. It's like all our reviews in Good Times. They're not all favorable reviews. You know, people get pissed off at times, but that's the way it is. It's a real newspaper. It's not a penny saver or a community newspaper. So we expanded the restaurant section. We have that, the feature Bountiful Gourmet. And then I came up with the idea, said, well, what do people love? Well, they love more than anything. We always found that when we did here's a great hamburger place in Jackson Heights and a hole-in-the-wall building, people would come from Suffolk and they'd actually go to these places, barbecue places like Dang Barbecue. They travel amazing distances to go out and try out something that they were finding out about. So we expanded it and we came up with a column called Dining Deals. And Dining Deals is exactly what it sounds like. We come up with, Spontino's Monday, Tuesday nights got $15.99 pasta night, which food's fantastic there. Or, Mama's in Copeg has great chicken night on Wednesday night, or Ben's Deli has kids eat free night. People love that stuff. So we started running those reviews, and people have been telling us that people have been coming and saying, I saw the article about you in Good Times. So we added stuff. We always had a bowling column, unusual, but my editor is a Professional Bowling Writers Association. It's not that the people who read Good Times are mainly into bowling, but for that group of people, that small group of people that are into bowling, where else are they going to be able to read about it? It's like when we used to do a Swedish and Norwegian death metal column.
They're also into music, so you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. And, people don't realize that people who are musicians or people who go to shows are just normal people. They go out to eat, they go out bowling, they have kids that they put in music school. They do all the normal things that people do. So, you can't pigeonhole. And we always had the columns, classic rock and country and techno beat we're very proud of. That's our EDM column. And, we covered that since 2013. Nobody was touching EDM with a 10-foot pole, and we were on it from the beginning. And the beautiful thing about our EDM column is we find the most obscure music you could ever hear. There's an EDM act from Thailand that's breaking big in Southeast Asia, and we're writing about it. And that's what people who are into EDM is, just like people for restaurants. They want to be turned on. They want to find out about things they can't.
Are you getting a lot of international interest that you're writing about things overseas?
You know,
Or is
I can't say we're getting national interest, because we get about 200 emails a day, and about 90% of them are from publicists that are trying to push their acts. But our emphasis is really local. You know, it's nice to do a cover story like we just did. AC/DC on the cover, Paul McCartney on the cover, Bugs Bunny celebrating Bugs' 80th anniversary.
He's that old.
Seacliff Bagel Cafe, a fantastic place in Seacliff that a CIA chef, that's Culinary Institute of America chef, owns and runs. Great food. So we get calls all the time and contact all the time from publicists wanting us to cover stuff. But our mission is to really promote Long Island bands, Long Island music, Long Island film, Long Island shows. That's why we started the live streaming shows, so that, you know, if you got a show like yours and people don't realize it's there, now we have a listing for it. I always used to watch, you know, the Cablevision shows, and I said, gee, I wish I knew this was on at 12:30, or I wish this was on, knew this was on at 8 o'clock at night. So that's done very well. We've gotten a lot of favorable comment, and people that like Mary Lamont, who has a radio show, and Robin Eve, who has, I never realized people had these shows. And the more,
if you have up and coming, and that's, if you're staying local, I'm assuming that if someone's trying to make a name for themselves or trying to get noticed, you're a great way to get attention by going to you, because you're looking for that Bruce Springsteen before the Bruce Springsteen, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's always been one of the beautiful things. We'll cover. Clive Davis once said, we wrote about one of his acts, Sean Phillips, and he told his vice president of publicity, who was a former Good Times music editor, one thing about Good Times magazine, they'll touch acts that nobody else will touch with a 10-foot pole.
No, it seems like a lot of the people that worked for you over the years have achieved the ultimate in the industry. Do you have some other names or people that you mentioned that are out there?
Oh, absolutely. Leonard Maltin from Entertainment Tonight. He wrote the ultimate book on Disney animation when he was 14 years old. When he wrote for me, he was a freshman at NYU. Kurt Loder from MTV was my music editor. Dave Frick from Rolling Stone was my music editor. I've had guys that have gone on to Variety and Billboard and a lot of national magazines. And one of the reasons is I used to pick people from all over America as my editors. So I'd get somebody from Wisconsin or Oklahoma, and I'd run an editor and publisher saying, we're looking for a music writer in New York. And that was like the promised land. Nobody was hiring music editors. Newsday didn't even have a music writer full time. And we would bring these people in that were very talented, like Kurt and all these other guys. And after a year or two of Good Times, they became very valuable commodities. The people that were pitching them all the time, the record companies, would do like they did with Glenn. They'd say, you know, you're a pretty good writer. We have an opening in our publicity department or at our magazine. And we also got a lot of people stealing our talent. You know, the national magazines, Cream Magazine, and a lot of those magazines used to just wait a year or two for somebody to last at Good Times, and then they'd steal them away from us at a higher salary. There's nothing we could do. We were like the training ground for the next step.
Well, you know, it sounds like because of that, you've touched a lot of people and actually, you know, did a lot for the industry. If you think about it, you're the seed that grew a lot of these acts, a lot of these talents. You know, you just, the names that you're naming, we all know them. And, you know, when you say that, oh, that as an editor working in our magazine and nobody knew them then, and now look at them, you know, you got to say you've done a fantastic job in actually seeding the industry.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed. Also, today, everybody's a writer. If you can put 3 sentences together, you're a blogger. And the reality is that the level of writing is so poor that it's very hard to find anybody as good writers. We constantly look for writers, and I mean, what the samples we get are just poorly written. You know, grammar is horrendous, spelling. We would run ads in the paper, sometimes on Craigslist, that we were looking for a secretary, and we'd say, you know, send us a cover letter along with your resume. Please, and then we'd actually put in the ad, please proofread before sending. And we'd get people sending over a cover letter for an office assistant for a newspaper, and there'd be like 14 typos and misspellings in 3 paragraphs. So it's not what it used to be. Everybody thinks that they can write, and everybody is very casual in their writing. And, you know, we take our writing pretty serious. We like to keep the level high. The person who's reading Good Times is, you know, broken into a couple of groups. One is the music goer, the person who loves to go out, people who wants to do stuff. And a lot of musicians read the paper. The musicians want facts. They want details. They don't want fluff. They don't want to know, you know, whether Rod Stewart likes American Women or what he had for breakfast. They want to know about his new album or some project that he's working on. And that's what they expected. Even with the local bands, we always thought that we were a great guideline for a band, because if they got written up in Good Times and they got a favorable review, that was helpful. And if they got an unfavorable review, it was never a nasty unfavorable review, but we would point out sometimes to the detriment of the band itself. You know, the bass player was outstanding. The rhythm section was really the heart of the band, but it's unfortunate that the vocalist can't hit notes, and, you know, the writing is so-and-so. So people don't like that.
Speaking about writing, about 5-6 years ago, you were kind enough to do a spread. And I mean, it was a spread. I mean, it wasn't, you know, an inch by 2 inch kind of little ad, but you did a write-up on Friend Entertainment. And I've been fortunate to get a few of those over the 33 years that I've been doing it, but yours by far was the best. I still use it. It is still like current. So I thank you for that. It was really a great piece.
We get amazing calls. We get, I'd probably say the number one call we get from just casual readers is, you covered my band in 1981. Do you have a copy of the magazine? Or you covered my band in 1981, and I just want to thank you for covering the band. It was unbelievable to see us in print. I think one of the highlights is when we got a call from the official Pink Floyd fan club in London saying, in such and such an issue in 1974, you did a review of Pink Floyd's new album. Do you have a copy of it? We'd like to buy it because we want it for the Pink Floyd museum or whatever it was. So we constantly get requests like that, and it's almost impossible for us to cross-reference them, because back in those days, nothing was digitized. I just sorted through 1,294 issues of Good Times in about 75 boxes. There was like 10 copies of each in the box. And I was putting them in numerical order to see if I had an entire set. And I'm missing 7 issues. And but some of the copies of Good Times are going online for anywhere from $25 to $100. If you've got that Bruce Springsteen cover, it's worth $150. If you've got Crosby, Stills and Nash, 1982, it's worth $25. Because we're not Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone had 1 million copies out there, so a lot of people have it. It's like Donna Summer. If you were a Donna Summer fan and she sold millions of copies, then the resale value of Donna Summer albums isn't great. But if you got somebody that was a really good artist, that's harder to find. So the value is much higher. And that's Good Times is something that most people haven't heard of. So we have a guy in Italy that constantly, anytime Lady Gaga's on the cover, he'll send us $25, buys 3 copies for $75 because he wants everything to do with his passion. And the more obscure, unusual the item is, the more demand it is.
Where are you going to be taking the magazine? So you reached the point where you're back where you were, but you've got now the internet. Do you have any plans for the future for the newspaper? Anything new that you're going to be doing?
Yeah, we've got a lot of big plans. I mean, first of all, I got to tell you, one of the things I think has happened with COVID, and it's been confirmed by a lot of people, there's 2 trends that are going on right now. One we touched on peripherally a little while ago is that phone calls are back. They're finding out that rather than texting or emailing, people are starting to use the phones because they want that human touch. They want to connect with people. I've always believed that, because when you have a phone conversation of 15 minutes, you can touch on 20 different topics, but with a text, you know, you may get an answer. You may get an answer 2 days later. So that's number one. Number two, print is going to come back incredibly big. I'm getting people who are telling me that, like my physical therapist today, and the guy that repairs my copy machines, who's 40 years old, he says, I love reading papers and magazines. I can't stand any more of looking at a screen. He says, the thing I like about your paper and magazines, I sit in my easy chair, I read the article comfortably, I put it down, and then I can come back to it. That's always part of the appeal of Good Times. You hold on to Good Times for the 2 full weeks of the month because of the hundreds and hundreds of listings in there. So I think that print is going to come back very big. I think that nothing will really happen big with Good Times until we get the performing arts centers back, the Patchogues theaters and the Paramounts. But we're building up a whole new base. I've got lawyers advertising in the paper now, and I got a real estate broker that wants to advertise. And I'm getting a lot of people that I wouldn't have normally got or even gone after. So that's one big thing. And the second big thing is the Long Island Music Business Association that we've set up. Last January, I came up with the idea, I've had it for 30 years, of coming up with a trade organization called Long Island Music Business Association, like a chamber of commerce, but only for businesses that deal in the entertainment and music business. It's not for bands, although it'll help the bands. So we were all set. We were going to have a festival, November 5th, 6th, and 7th, 200 acts appearing at 150 locations was supposed to take place. Festival, ironically, was going to be called Support Long Island Music Festival. That's before the pandemic. And then we were going to have an open house at 25 recording and rehearsal studios for people to come down and see the brick and mortar locations of places like Sabella Music and places like that. And then we were going to do a super weekend sale at 20 different musical instrument stores. Again, encouraging people, hey, get off the internet, come and see your local dealer. He's going to give you a good price, a good deal, and you're going to talk to a person who can help you. So those are the things. And next year, hopefully we'll be expanding quite a bit. This live streaming and virtual streaming, as you know, Norman, is taking off big time. And it's a source of advertising for us that we never had before. We're getting a lot of ads from people that are running these shows. And it's just like anybody that's running a concert series, if you're doing a lot of shows, you need to constantly be getting the word out. And people can't depend on their own websites. They got to find out people who are looking for it, just like people who are watching your show. You have people who are watching your show that learn about people or places or businesses they never would have heard of if they weren't watching your show. So I'm real hopeful. The problem is, of course, the expenses are very high. We've got all this debt that we have to somehow work off. We've got the lawsuit that we're paying off legal fees on, and it's not easy. We're not close to breaking even right now, but I'm hopeful. The combination of my regulars, if they were back, and the people that we've added would be a very successful paper.
Well, Rich, we really wish you good luck. We're coming up to the end of the hour now. These things.
And you were worried about if you were going to be able to talk.
Yeah, I mean, you have plenty. You know what? We could go on and on and on. Really quick. We got a couple of minutes. Really quick. What is the worst reaction you ever gotten from one of your articles? What artist really was pissed off at you guys because of what you wrote?
Oh God, there's a lot of them, but I would say the movie Catch-22. We did a Yossarian's hat giveaway, and they gave us a hat which was supposed to have been worn by the guy Alan Arkin in the movie, and we did a giveaway, and then we wrote an incredibly unfavorable review of the movie.
Oh.
And we got a call from a publicist, and the guy, I just remember, got on the phone with me. He said, I'm sitting in a restaurant and my client showed me a copy of Good Times magazine where you shagged Catch-22. How could you do this to me? And we said, well, it's a lousy movie. It isn't good. So that's what you got to watch out for.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? When you're running a promotion for a movie and then you're reviewing it, and you're kind of slamming it. So, Rich, we really appreciate you being on tonight. I mean, we could sit here all night, and I'm sure you can fill us with story after story after story about all the great things that you've experienced and all the great stuff that Good Times has done, not only for my generation, but generations subsequent to me and actually before me. So, again, thank you for being on. I know Norm, loves you, and probably because you did that article on him.
It was. I have to say, that was one of the best articles I ever wrote. I have fun writing these articles because, I try and pick people and things that I'm interested in. And I've been to Norm shows, the great shows. I went to that Robin Williams show. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I went to some of Norm's doo-wop shows. Enjoyed it a lot. So,
You remember back then? Oh my God, that was like ancient times.
yes, that was in Merrick at the school.
Yeah, that was my 30th anniversary, yeah.
But it's easy to write about people that you find fun and interesting.
That's fantastic.
Well, again, we thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me on.
2021, we wish you the best, and I'm sure you and I will be speaking soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Rich. Thanks for being on.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. What a great job he did. Hi, Renee.
He doesn't have a problem talking.
No, he doesn't. Oh my God. You said it. You said he's got plenty of stories and he was going and going and going.
That's why.
I heard you got skinny.
Yeah, I got skinny. I lost 32 pounds.
My God, what did you do? Oh,
Are we still recording?
We're still on. We're still on the air.
Oh, good.
That's all right. Hi, Renee.
Everybody say hello to Renee.
Hey, that's Norman's better half. So
definitely.
She says to herself.
yeah, I was told at Thanksgiving not to lose any more weight.
You've kind of about reached it.
Yeah, no, this is where I wanted to be.
You did shakes?
Yeah, shakes and bars, and I did that weight loss program, Optavia.
Oh,
I did it for 2 months, and that was it.
do shakes.
Can you
Yeah.
take that rubber band out of your mouth?
No.
No, that's just
He chews on rubber bands.
I have an addiction to rubber.
well, that's all right. You know what? We could go a lot of places with that, Renee, but this is
I know.
We don't have an audience though watching anymore, so I don't know.
Sorry. I just got home from visiting my son and granddaughter, so.
All right, goodbye. Nice to see you. We'll see you later.
Well, next week, who do we got next week? We're on Monday, right?
Puccio. I have it here. Mark Puccio is next week,
Mark Puccio's on Monday night, right? And we're gonna have
Brittany, the 9th.
the night. So Brittany's gonna be with her, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna see our friend Brittany Anderson. You gotta wear your t-shirt.
Yes, I have to go and find it in the back of my car. I need the flyer
Sent it to you
for them. He asked me for it. He really wants to promote the show.
They sent it to you this morning. You didn't get it?
I'll take another look, but I didn't.
I'll resend it. All right, everybody. So next Wednesday night, right? We're not doing Monday?
We may be, I don't know. Next Monday is the
Is the 7th.
7th. Oh, yeah, I think we are. Hold
Yeah.
on 1 second. Oh, hold on a second.
Stay tuned, folks. It looks like we're going to be doing a show on Monday, but no one's getting all the details. We're running a little long tonight. All right. So next Monday night, let's see if I can get the information. Can't get it quickly because I'm working remote. And because of that, here we go.
Monday is Mark.
Right. So Mark Puccio, who's been on the show with Brittany Anderson, right? So
They are on with their foundation on the 7th. And then a very interesting young lady by the name of Nancy Vargas is
right,
going to be on the 9th.
right. So we got
Then on the 14th is your friend Carolyn.
right.
And we're winding down. We have actually we do have 4 more shows before the end of the month.
Okay. So guys, tune in Monday night, 7 o'clock, right here on Facebook Live in the Business Power Hour. And we're going to see you, Monday. So everybody stay safe. See, like as soon as I found out I was exposed, what I did was I locked myself down, not because I was afraid I was going to get it. I didn't want anybody else to be infected. So, that's just common sense. It's just common sense stuff.
And to let you know also, we are booking 2021. If you are interested in coming on the show and showing your business and or your charity, give us a call at 631-698-0000. 9696 or call Dimples at
631-721-4347.
if you want Dimples, you call there. And if you want the Music Man, you call here. And in a meanwhile, you have a great week.
All right, everybody have a great week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.